This podcast is a collaboration between Costard and Touchstone Productions and the Dads from the Crypt podcast.
Tornei àquela cidade num cemitério sem cruzes. Acredito que a morte me queira agradecer dia destes. Aposto que sei enrolando. E você hoje, cabrão!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I'm Alan Katz.
And I'm Gil Adler.
Last weekend, Gil and I had the pleasure of being feted at the Chattanooga Film Festival. That's feted, F-E-T-E-D, not F-E-T-I-D. And what a great weekend that was.
Incredible. First of all, getting there.
Yeah, we will talk about it. We will each talk about our travails in getting from where we were to Chattanooga. Not an easy place to get to, but the weekend itself was, well, first of all, it was just the second time that we've actually gotten to see each other face to face in 30 years.
Time. Yeah, crazy.
So that alone is a strange concept. But it was great fun. It was what a joy to spend that much time together.
Yeah, but you know what's really unbelievable to me is that it didn't feel like we had seen each other for a week. I mean, we just picked up right where we left off, and we just continued on. And
it's horrifying. You know, it's horrifying.
It's crazy.
It's we've got a lot of lost time to make up for, but
indeed we do.
Perhaps it's a testament to that fact. When we did the last week's episode of the podcast from the film festival, that a lot of the audience remarked how natural we play together. You know, it was always that way in any room we ever sat in together.
Yeah.
From the first time that I ever walked into your office on Beverly Boulevard. Right
across the street from the old ICM building.
Yeah, right.
In a building. In a building called the Antiquarius, where except for us on the second floor in the back, it was all filled with shops selling antiques and pottery and light bulbs and lamps and all kinds of household goods.
And you.
And
and you. Yeah, I think you had read a script that I had read. Hey, look, you should read this too. You had read a script that I had written called
exactly.
I think Down to Earth, I think.
Yes.
And I was pitching another thing, I think. Or no, I wasn't. I wasn't pitching anything. That was, and then suddenly we began to talk, and we took another project out eventually called French Kiss.
Right. Wow.
And then we began working on a project that you had, that was in your head, Love and Linoleum.
Right.
Which we began
actually wrote.
Which we actually wrote. And it is a terrific script. And
it really is. You know, I've read it recently. You sent it to me.
That's right. That's right. I haven't talked. Oh my God. We were only in Chattanooga together for 48 hours, so we really didn't have time to catch up on everything. And there was some sleeping involved in that, just because. How did you feel about rereading Love and Linoleum after all these years?
It still made me laugh, you know, and there's something about the characters that are very endearing. There's something that a little time that are a little worn by time. And need to be changed a little bit, but you know, maybe we should talk about that script when we off the podcast and see if there's anything we want to do with that, because that feels like it could be in the strike zone of what buyers are looking to put on today for a general audience.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and
the best part of it is I found it still funny, which I think.
Cool.
You know, if you reread it and thought the same thing, then maybe there's something to talk about.
as I said, nothing ventured, nothing gained, which is kind of the whole point of a film festival like the Chattanooga Film Festival. This is, first of all, the Chattanooga Film Festival prides itself on being independently independent and with a very clear bent towards horror.
And boy, are they independently independent.
Getting to Chattanooga was tricky. The folks at the Chattanooga Film Festival are doing this on, they've got partners who are helping them finance this, but really they're doing this on smoke and mirrors. They're
right.
And they've got tremendous taste in material in what they've found. A lot of the shorts that we saw, I got to see a couple of the features. I wish I'd had time to see more, but there was some really interesting material by some terrific filmmakers who, in the episodes ahead, we're going to introduce you to some of them. We were absolutely captivated by more than a few of the filmmakers that we bumped into.
And you might think that because it's a Chattanooga Film Festival in Tennessee, that it would be limited to a local group of filmmakers, but they have international filmmakers.
Oh yeah,
I think the thing that was most confusing to me was that, when they picked me up in Vancouver to get to Chattanooga, I didn't realize that they still had stagecoaches.
Yeah, alas, because they are working on an extreme budget, and they were we were this one of the guests of honor at this particular festival. They had a bunch of things lined up for us. We had 3 virtual events, but we had one live event, and the live event was last week's podcast. But they wanted to travel us from Gil from Vancouver, me from Los Angeles, all that way, really for that one event, just so that we could do last week's episode. And doing it on a not much of a budget, traveling us was I think a challenge.
I actually thought at one moment that maybe Joel Silver set this up to punish us for our podcast.
No, in all fairness, Chattanooga is not the easiest place to get to. It's got a sweet little airport, that's the larger, they're jets, but they're the smallest jets fly into that airport a couple of times a day. There's you can't fly in there directly from Dallas. I don't think that, do they fly from Atlanta?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
they certainly don't fly from Vancouver.
They certainly don't. So you traveled overnight.
I took the red eye and we went from Vancouver to Atlanta. Which wasn't a bad flight. It's only 4.5 hour flight, but it's in the middle of the night. So you really don't get much time to sleep. And you land at like 5 to 6 in the morning. And then they had a sweet young filmmaker who is now a friend of ours, both of us. Mark picked me up at the airport.
Mark Cavino,
and proceeded to drive us the 2 hours to Chattanooga, where we talked a lot about filmmaking. We talked about his ambitions and eventually stopped for a coffee, which I suggested we do within 5 minutes of getting in the car at 6 o'clock in the morning. But we did stop at an interesting place about an hour, halfway to Chattanooga, called Buc-ee's. And in the South, Buc-ee's is very well known. But for a guy from Vancouver, I had no idea what it was. And it started out in Texas as a gas station, and now they have like 100 pumps. But that's not what makes it unique. What makes it unique is right next door, they have a huge building. And inside that building, they sell barbecue, homemade fudge, all kinds of garments and mugs.
Apparently, Buc-ee's is equally well known for its bathrooms. They have as many toilets as they do gas pumps. And apparently, the bathrooms are very, very well kept.
So we stopped there for the coffee, and I actually had a barbecue egg wrap and a chopped barbecue sandwich. At 8 o'clock in the morning when we went into the place, it was packed. You would have thought it was 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And it was huge.
It is a cultural institution.
It is. It is,
And
especially when you see all of these people walking in carrying guns.
that too is a cultural institution.
Yeah,
A whole other conversation for another
right.
time
For another
and another
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah.
Don't get us started.
So then we got back in the car and shot our way, no, drove our way to Chattanooga, where I was looking forward to sleeping. We arrived there like 10 o'clock in the morning, and
this was on Saturday. No, you got
no Friday.
on Friday.
Thursday
right,
night.
right. You
right.
you traveled Thursday, arrived Friday.
Right.
So
we got
wardrobe was Friday.
Right. So we got to the hotel Friday, and they had said they were attempting to get an early booking into the hotel, which I was afraid they wouldn't get, but they did. And I must say the Hotel Reed,
the Reed House,
was beautiful. It's renovated. It was built in 1862, I think.
1872.
And it burned down once in the early 1900s, and they rebuilt it.
An amazing history, and they're very proud of the history. And they
as they should be.
The Reed House has had plenty of famous guests, lots of presidents, including Ulysses Grant, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Gene Autry was a guest, as were Elvis and Oprah. Winston Churchill stayed, as did Gary Cooper, Bing Crosby, Walt Disney, Bob Hope, and Al Capone. Capone stayed in room 311 while the feds were transporting him to trial in Chicago. To keep him from breaking out, the hotel put bars on 311's windows, still there today. Room 311 at the Reed has had even more history than just Capone. When a husband caught his wife with another man, he murdered her in the room's bathroom. Does her spirit still haunt the room? Many guests would say, fuck yeah. The last renovation was very thoughtful. And they took it as I hope you can see from the visuals provided, those of you who can see the visuals, they've taken it back to its jazz age splendor.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. And I must say, the best thing about it, they had the best air conditioning. I think in all of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Very comfortable, very quiet, very nice people, very gracious. Really enjoyed staying there.
And Chattanooga itself is a fascinating place because Chattanooga has so much history, a lot tied into the Civil War and really how the war kind of pivoted one way and then the other, right around Chattanooga.
Yeah, and we had biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
And we had chitlins.
Fried chicken, amazing fried chicken. I live for fried chicken.
And we had fried cauliflower and fried
green tomatoes.
In fact, I'm trying to think what we had that wasn't fried.
Yeah.
Maybe the cereal in the morning wasn't fried.
But it wasn't for lack of trying.
So
Chattanooga was great fun. The hotel was terrific. The folks who organized the Chattanooga Film Festival, Chris Dortch, this is his baby, Chris's dad and Chris especially. I think he lives and breathes this 365 days of the year.
I think you're right. I think they both love what they do.
And this is the first year that they had not just virtual, but IRL in real life. So this was challenging in so many different ways. And they seem to have pulled off a rather, at least as far as I could tell, there was nothing that wasn't great about the.
No, I think it went very well. And I think kudos to them because the young filmmakers and the people who paid to be part of this seem very satisfied, and very engaged, and very grateful for what these two men have done.
Personally, I was grateful to get to meet these filmmakers that I would never have bumped into otherwise. I don't think, and I'm delighted. Andrew Bowser, a fascinating filmmaker. He's got a release coming. Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Andrew is a testament to the business that you and I came from, because it's gone in so many ways. It's been superseded by the business that Andrew is in. And Andrew took a character that he was doing on YouTube for a decade. And I think he's got a theatrical release for his feature, his Onyx feature.
Yeah.
That's an amazing accomplishment. And really this is a DIY world. One of the things that we preach here on this podcast, how do you get from here to, well, how do you get onto the mountain? It takes, among other things, tremendous persistence. You have to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and you will encounter gazillions of people who will tell you you're full of shit, you're wasting your time, forget about it. You have to blow past every single one of them.
Persistence, patience, and perseverance.
Andrew Bowser is a testament to really, you keep it going no matter what, and he is succeeding, and he's got his own audience that he built really with his own two hands,
and rightfully so, because his material and his delivery is really quite exceptional.
He's very funny.
Yeah,
he's very, very funny. So, Andrew, man,
yeah.
We also a couple of shorts that you saw one first. You turned me on to it, and I got to see it. They call it Red Cemetery.
By a young, I thought Spanish, from Spain, director. I think he's from the Azores, actually.
So he's Portuguese.
Francisco
Lacerda.
This short that we saw was literally maybe 10 minutes, 7 minutes long, and very funny, great characters, very interesting, and very much in the style of Tales from the Crypt, which I really loved.
Yeah, it's a satire of the Sergio Leone movies.
Yeah,
it's a sweet, funny little piece of fan love in a way, but terrific filmmaking too. He's from the Azores, and I think he shot this entirely in the Azores.
Could be. I mean, it was a desert scene, so I'm sure they have some desert or beach there.
Remote hills, a graveyard, and two guys with a beef.
Oh! Ora da minha parte, certo?
Certamente, amigo. Uma acorde é uma acorde.
Oh!
Tornei àquela cidade num cemitério sem cruzes. Acredito que a morte me queira agradecer dia destes.
Aposto que sei enrolando. E você hoje, cabrão!
Did you get to see any of the features?
I didn't. I was pretty busy. I was really talking to a lot of the young filmmakers that were there and having sort of drinks with them, or, just chatting in the lobby or in the bar about what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they got to where they are so far, and where they want to go from here. And they're all pursuing it in pretty much different ways.
Among the films that I got to see during the week was one thing called Hell Hath No Fury, which it describes itself as a dark comedy about a husband and wife who separately and unknowingly plot to murder each other on the same fateful night. I really liked the lead actress, Leah Philpott. Is just I liked her a whole lot. I watched the movie because we met her. She came up to our table. I think we signed something for her. And so I said, yeah, I'll catch her movie. And so I caught her movie, and I thought she was wonderful. So I'm so glad you came up, because I really loved your performance, Leah. I really, really did. I also managed to catch a really interesting thing called Tearsucker.
No, baby, we're not done yet. Are you not listening to me? I could kill you right now, and I wouldn't feel anything. Not guilt or remorse. Nothing. I could watch the life leave your body and never think of it for a second afterwards. But then where would we be? be a total waste, and I just have to start over again with somebody else. Somebody disposable.
And Tearsucker, let's see, it's about a guy who gets his yayas by sucking the tears of women he terrorizes.
As one does.
As one does, yeah. And that just sounded so intriguing. Very well shot, very well made. Steven Vanderpool is the director. It was written by Sam Britton. Allison Walter, get her name, Walter. Allison Walter is the lead. Sam Britton is the crazy. It's a challenging subject to have a guy with a particular fetish and to keep us with him for the duration of the movie, but Tearsucker pulls it off. It's solid piece of horror filmmaking. A terrific character. I managed to walk in to one of there were some performances that were only live. They were not going to appear virtual. The deal that Chris Dortch made was one-shot deal. And I was lucky enough to walk in a movie. I didn't even know what the title was. It was the movie that was playing, and I sat down, and a thing called Piaf began to play, spelled Piaffe. It is a German movie made by an Israeli director named Anne Oren. It's about a woman. She lacks all confidence. She works as a Foley artist in films, and she gets an assignment to Foley a horse. And so, among the other things, she's taking coconut shells and on sand and creating the sound. But as she continues to work on these horse sounds, she begins to, for want of a better word, horsify. She begins to take on horse-like attributes, especially a tail. She grows a horse's tail. She becomes more confident, different. The movie is incredibly sensual, beautifully shot. Simone Buccio, the lead actress, is a revelation. She's extraordinary. Eyes, just her physicality, everything. She's great. She's great. It was compelling, utterly unfathomable as I watched it. I knew what I was watching, but I couldn't imagine where this movie was going. And when it got to its ending, I thought, yes, that's where it had to land. I have not stopped thinking about this movie since.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I'm gonna find you, Anne Oren, and we must have a conversation, the three of us.
It just so happens our producing partners, Dads from the Crypt, also are at this year's Chattanooga Film Festival. Jody Webster and Mando Aguilar attended IRL, but Jason Stein attended virtual.
What was your overall impression of this year's festival?
It seemed like a very well-oiled machine. I really appreciate that, and some great talent there. Again, I wish I had the time to dive into everything. It's like overwhelming. I think that was probably the biggest thing. I was just really overwhelmed by the amount of content, which is a good thing. That's a quality problem to have. I've been to local film festivals. I've never traveled to one before, so I've been to all night film festivals and that stuff. And I love the shorts. Some people don't like shorts. I kind of love shorts because you got to get it out. If it's good, you had a good time, you want more. If it's bad, then you've done your thing and you move on.
If they can tell a great story within, however long it takes them to tell it, that works. That's just as good. And sometimes that can be really potent. I mean,
again, Tales from the Crypt is pretty much short films.
We are, we're really a joke stretched out to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Were there particular shorts or films that struck you?
We had Andrew Bowser on our podcast, and I don't think his film was on the virtual docket, but
no, that was live.
I heard really good things about that. I really want to see that movie.
I thought that was really funny.
But I mean, honestly, the thing I did the most was checking on your content and see what people's reactions were, and people were loving it. They're eating it up. And I listened to your panel, which was great.
Oh, thank you.
And then the Dead Easy script read. Unfortunately, I take my kid to an appointment, but so I was kind of in and out of that. But it seemed to go really well. I was actually really impressed with Jody. I think he's got a gig, a possible future in that space.
Yeah. He was a delightful surprise.
But and then I watched or listened to your commentary for Bordello and had the film up and everything, so I got the full experience. I listened to that from start to finish, and that to me was like the real highlight.
Cool.
To hear all your just kind of seeing, not I could hear your voice, like experiencing it, and
it was I don't know if I'd call it therapeutic.
Well,
therapy of a kind, shock therapy of a kind.
Well, it was interesting to hear because I listened to your podcast, or I hear you talk about it. It's kind of like in a vacuum.
Well, it's your podcast too. You're an executive producer.
I'm just saying, like when I hear you talk about it, I'm focused on you, but hearing you talking about it with the actual product being displayed kind of like ties it together in a way. And actually, what I came away from it is, I work in IT project management, so I do testing, I do working on projects, putting things together to an end product. And what I've noticed is that the people who I do a project for, they don't care about how terrible the testing was and the back and the forth. They just want the thing to work. So there's many times where I've had like quote traumatic or just really, really difficult testing sessions, and things just weren't going right. It just took forever. It was just really stressful. But at the end of the day, the thing works, and that's all they care about. And I was kind of thinking about that in relation to your film, The Bordello Blood, where, again, when you watch the movie, it's not great, but it's actually not bad. In a vacuum, when it's not compared to Demon Knight or Tales Script a Show on its own merit, standing alone, it's a fine movie. It's the fact that you made a fine movie under those circumstances is to be applauded. Now, but your perspective as the creators,
you are too kind. You are too kind. But
as the creators,
I appreciate that perspective. I do.
Yeah. So as for you and Gil, all you see are I remember that day. I remember that day. You were there when the sausage was being made.
There's a bruise here still, man.
Right.
It won't go away.
And I totally understand that, knowing everything that went into make it. But as far as the final product itself, I think it's better than it has any right to be. Which again isn't say great, but it's the fact that you made a competent film. I've seen much more quote offensively bad movies, and I think that's something that you and Gil should be applauded for. And again, I know that'd be a hard perspective for you and Gil to come to, but again, seeing the product and seeing you talk about it kind of put that in perspective for me. Like I'm like, this is a movie. It's a movie. It's fine. So there's some fun parts. Even you admitted there were some good snippets here and there. Yeah. So I think that's something you can hang your hat on if possible.
So long as it's a very small hat. Well, thank you, Jason. As always, you are too kind. But like I said, I appreciate the perspective, and I appreciate the perspective. But there were some screenings.
Mando Aguilar and Jody Webster were both there live at the festival.
Was there anything that you saw live that people couldn't see virtually that stuck in your craw?
Yeah, there were a couple that stood out.
That's Jody Webster.
Showed after the first block of shorts was called Mind, Body, Soul.
Mind, Body, Soul.
I'm sorry, Mind, Body, Spirit.
And that's Mando Aguilar.
Mind, Body, Spirit.
Mind, Body, Spirit. Cool.
But yeah, it was really good because it was unexpected. It was a found footage movie, which can go either way. But this one was really well done. Great lead character, some great spooky moments. It's one of those movies that as the camera pans around, you'll see little subtle hints, or you'll see somebody in the background just for a second. And it had a great kind of spooky atmosphere that I really enjoyed.
It never felt forced, like a lot of found footage movies do.
Yeah.
Do you remember the names of any of the filmmakers?
I actually have everything pulled up here. Let's see.
Ooh.
Mind, Body, Spirit. Matthew Mirinda and Alex Hennis were the directors. So I'd never heard their names before, but I did really enjoy their movie.
Oh, cool. Well, that a part of why we're doing this is to give everyone as much of a shout out as we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was a big fan of Lola, which I believe played on day 2 or day 3. It was kind of a period piece with all these old war archive, doctored war archive footage spliced in about two sisters who create a machine where they can see the future, and they're helping the war efforts again in World War II. I thought that was very, very surprising because I did not expect. I looked at the description, I said, sounds interesting, and then I watched it, and that kind of blew me out of the water.
It was period.
Definitely a period piece shot in black and white, and just
American?
felt American, I believe, yeah. I see Jody checking right now, but that one I thought might have been my favorite movie of the entire festival because it was so different and just very inventive and creative with what they did. I definitely want to seek out if anybody's out there looking for something to seek out. I think it was wholly unique in what they were doing.
Neither of you saw Piaf.
We did.
Yes, we absolutely saw that one.
Piaf.
We definitely saw Piaf. I saw you leaving that screening, and then I meant to ask you what you thought of it, and then next thing I know, you were gone.
I was in a daze.
It was
I was
late.
in a daze. That was my favorite movie.
I think that's the proper reaction to that movie is to be in a daze. When
Yeah.
you leave it.
That movie was just a really real throwback to, like, I guess 80s or 70s German exploitation and I guess German erotic thriller exploitation. If you want to get very critical, but I thought that movie was great.
Yeah, I really like that.
It was the word I keep using is unfathomable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And yet, because I was always wondering where the fuck is this going? And yet where it landed it made absolute sense. And it thought, yes, that is a natural place to stop. It was a fascinating character. It was beautifully shot.
Definitely.
And Anne Oren, she's an Israeli director. It's really fascinating. The lead actress was amazing, I thought.
Yeah, I think so too. She really owned that role, and you really have to in something like that because she drove the whole movie. If you don't have a fantastic lead actress there, the movie doesn't work, and she did a phenomenal job.
I agree completely. If you don't buy her experience, if that isn't real, if she's just pretending, okay, I'm turning into a horse.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. It was a spirit. It was the spirit of the thing, and the tale was kind of it was almost the metaphor.
Right.
But it was remarkably sensual in places.
Yes.
The bit where she brushes her tail into the telephone.
Right.
And it's because she's in this sound.
Yeah.
Sound is her business. And if you listen really carefully, the sound is quite, you could almost catch it. It's almost sensual as you try to.
And for a movie, it has such little dialogue in it, and really relies on sound to convey what's happening in there. And at no point did they really. It would also be very easy to play that situation as a joke, and have it be almost a pseudo one of those erotic comedies. But no, they play it very, very seriously, and it works. It works great.
Gosh, I totally agree. I'm so glad that I stumbled into that.
that last block of movies that they showed on the last day, because I think it was right in the middle of that, where they went Tearsucker, Trim Season, Piaf, and Pound Cake. That was a wild ending to the festival, but it was perfect. It was a great way to wrap everything up.
Did you guys, either of you, see Tearsucker?
Yes. Oh,
What
it was one of my favorites of the fest.
Yeah, I like Tearsucker a lot, and I was actually blown away when they did the Q&A that the protagonist and the antagonist were actually a couple in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they actually brought up how because someone asked them, how do you do those intense scenes on screen and then just go to bed like normal people? And they're like, well, we just have to disassociate ourselves in the roles. And I really enjoyed that line of commentary.
It's funny. I was not aware of the fact that they are a couple, and it makes some of those scenes, I think, even creepier. In fact,
right. Well,
they
said that they were staying at the house where they were filming, And so they had to film these. There's one scene in a bed where he really, makes his move to be this horrible guy. And that's where they slept every night. And so they had to sleep in that same bed that they filmed this, horribly emotional scene. But they said, he said that every time that he shot a scene with one of the women, there's two different women who he interacts with in the movie. And they after the scene, they kind of decompress, like, this is not real. This is not us. This is just movie. We're not carrying this baggage from the movie into real life. And apparently it worked. They managed to do it.
Lucky for them. That could have gotten very hairy very quickly.
Yes.
Right. I personally don't know if I could do that. If I could ever.
No, it'd be hard to turn back and forth between those characters and then real life relationship, I'm sure.
Did any of the shorts stick in your head?
Oh, so many. The short blocks were fantastic this year.
I have the hardest time remembering the names of shorts, but I have a list here somewhere. But Jody, go ahead. I know there's a few that you really loved.
Yeah, no, I actually managed to catch all the shorts this year, which is something I've never done at Chattanooga Film Fest. Yeah. The last block, the fun size epics, I've desperately underestimated how long that block was going to be, because those were the longer shorts, the 20-minute ones, the 30-minute ones. Yeah. I think that block was 5 hours long. I was expecting it to be 2. Wow. So I missed a couple of movies for that, but I think it was worthwhile. Some of the ones I really enjoyed, some of the ones even from the like student films and Tennessee filmmakers block were actually really good. Right there, the first one that they showed. Let's see what we had. They had Solitude was a fun little short about having annoying neighbors and taking them out if necessary.
just wanting quiet in your life and peace.
Yes.
Who made Solitude?
Solitude was made by Trevor Hancock.
Well done, Trevor.
Out of the next, I think the next 2 blocks were my 2 favorites, although every single block had great things in it. Let's see, this was Dangerous Visions, and it was just banger after banger. Tell Alice I Love Her was a great new take on the zombie movie. Fetal Position, complete insanity from moment one, and I loved it.
And playing with that kind of insanity, but also weaving all those modern social issues in there too.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really well done.
Let's see, No Overnight Parking was a good one.
Yeah, that one.
I didn't even recognize Alyssa Milano until about halfway through. Wait, I know who that is. Splinter, though. Splinter was one that came very close to being my top of the fest. I think I ended up changing it at the last minute, but it's a Twilight Zone episode, basically.
All right, tell us about Splinter.
Splinter.
First of all, who's the guilty party?
So Splinter was directed by Mark Bernardin, I think is his name.
Okay.
And apparently it was originally intended to be part of the new Twilight Zone series that Jordan Peele produced, but then the show got canceled before he got to make it. But he had already written the script. He had this, cool concept of a child that has to stay up in the air on an airplane. They cannot touch the ground. If they touch
I saw that one. Yeah.
If they touch the ground, it causes chaos and evil to run rampant. It may have been an Antichrist kind of character, There was some Vatican references, but it was a really cool Twilight Zone-y type story that I just really enjoyed.
I agree. That was a cool concept. I wanted to know where that was going to go.
Yeah. I could have had an extra 30 minutes of that one. That one, just to expand on that story, I could have had more.
I agree with you there, especially, it's a concept that needed more time to fill out, and for the consequences for there to be a few more characters. Right. I do like a short though that makes me want more. Like if I watch a short and say, man, I wish they make a movie out of this, and sometimes they do. Speaking of one that was very short and mostly just an effects reel for the most part was Gnomes. With the little tiny gnomes, and it was very bloody. And apparently they are making a movie out of that one. They're making a full length. I don't know how a feature is going to work for that, but I love the short.
Hey, that was fun and just chaos, and I love chaos.
Kickstart My Heart was a fantastic short of a woman getting hit by a car and then having to basically fight her way through her subconscious, through demons, through something, back to life, while also encountering her little brother who had died. Super emotional, and apparently from the credits, it was based on like a real car accident the director had been in. Really great.
And I think she really lost her brother in that too. Like, so it's probably a very cathartic short. Like,
what's the filmmaker's name? Wow.
Filmmaker for that one is Kelsey Bollig.
Really well done. It just hits even harder once you watch the end credits.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
I believe Alter's already picked that one up too. So if you
good.
watch it, it is available on YouTube.
I was a big fan of, they call it Red Cemetery.
Yes.
Spaghetti Western. And it's really funny. I realized it was made by a Mexican film crew and a Mexican director who made it. And I just love the fact everyone is obviously speaking in English, but it's overdubbed with terrible English overdubs, which just makes it
gibberish.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely love that one.
It is really funny and well done. I think they made that in the Azores.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay.
It's the Azore Film Commission is involved with that apparently.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think another one I really loved was Greetings. It actually won the audience prize for best short by Stephanie Benson. And it's about an office worker having to fill out, when someone passes around a card in an office and says, it's so-and-so's birthday, write something in it. And everything she writes in the cards happens. So she said something in one of the cards about you won the lottery, and then that person actually won the lottery. And so they start misusing her and abusing that power she has, but they also forgot her own birthday. And so she gets her revenge. And the director said that was actually based on real life. She worked in an office that everybody really celebrated birthdays, made a big deal out of it, and they forgot hers. And so at the end, there's a dedication that says, to all my former coworkers, you know awesome. Who you are. And that's just perfect.
I enjoyed that one a lot. I always joke that one of my biggest fears in life was always working at a place and having to sign an office card for someone who I barely knew. Like, just come on.
Yeah, really, truly. What was the name of the filmmaker?
She was, let me pull it back up, Stephanie Benson.
That was Stephanie Benson. Okay. Mm-hmm. Stephanie Benson. Wow. Sounds terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe those are virtual only, right?
Yes. Yeah. That block was the Fun Size Epics, and it was virtual only.
I actually really like the one that was non-horror. It's totally not my style, so I don't want to say I liked or didn't like it. Greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just gorgeously shot. Like the way it was shot and the way the narrative was, I thought it was really, really well done. It's one of those things where it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I'll be interested whenever that filmmaker does later.
Sure.
Cool.
And I think the person who did it said they were not a filmmaker. They kind of just fell into it or something to that effect, which is even more impressive.
She definitely said she wasn't a horror person. I remember.
Wasn't a horror person. Yeah, she said that for sure.
Trying to think if there was any other ones. There were so many good ones. I just enjoyed the shorts blocks pretty much across the board.
Were there after hour? They had events outside of the hotel, and where did you guys stay?
We just stayed at Airbnb about a mile away, far enough away that we were kind of away from all the busyness, but still walkable.
Cool.
Yeah, we were the nerds that didn't go to any of the. We went to the Monster Squad screening the first night to pick up our badges and that was a good time.
Right. But they also had parties every night, but they also showed movies at the same time, and so we went to the movies, not the parties.
Yeah. I was going to go to one of the parties, and I was starting, and that's when I ended up in Piaf.
Yeah.
I was going to the party. I thought, there's a screening. Well, I'm not here to go to a party. I don't really care about that. I'm here to see movies, and that's when I walked into Piaf.
Yeah. And us too. We were like, we saw the description of this movie. We're like, we have to see this movie. We can't miss this one.
Hey, yeah, we were all there for the same reason to see great movies.
Going back to features, I totally forgot. Molly and Max in the Future.
Oh yeah,
was a real fun comedy that we actually had every intention of skipping to go get some dinner. And then we ended up just, we'll sit down and see how it is. And then we all, myself, Jody, and our other friend Joe, all ended up absolutely loving that one.
Yeah.
Really good, heartwarming comedy.
Those are some of the best surprises of all that you figure, this is going to be a wait. I'll never get this time back. You know, I the first time I saw Tales from the Crypt, I was judging Ace Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I was an unemployed writer, and this was when there were cable Ace Awards. And there was a room full of 13 unemployed writers who were going to be judging writing for that year's cable Ace Awards. And they showed us a list of 8 hours, 9 hours of stuff. We were going to be watching the first 90 minutes with the first 3 episodes of Tales from the Crypt. And every writer in the group thought, oh, fuck, that's 90 minutes. We'll never get that. He just assumed it was going to be crap.
Right.
And the first episode that they screened for us was Dick Donner's Dig This Cat, He's Real Gone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, you guys know that episode.
Yeah.
I know that episode. And you could literally hear every writer's mind in the room turning over, going from, what a waste of my time to get my agent on the phone. How do I get my ass on this show?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
And one of us did. Anyway, but yeah, it's when stuff, and when you become the converted, you become the converted.
Yeah, and that's the same thing about the mind, body, spirit that we talked about earlier. It's one that we just went into because it was playing, and we didn't have any high expectations for it, and it really surprised us. I think everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Well, and any other last thoughts, guys?
Just the live events they had too. Obviously you and Gil were fantastic, and
Thank you. Well, we couldn't have done it without you guys.
Oh, you guys did great and captivated that room, and that was a great time. And stories that no one will ever forget that I won't repeat here. I think you have to go seek it out on your own if you want to hear some of those great stories.
Also, I don't think we can take them past state lines. Some of those stories.
This is true. Then they did the Pumpkin Pie Show with author Clay McLeod Chapman, which I knew nothing about this, and one of Jody's friends had said, "Hey, don't miss this," and blew my mind. Had such a great time. What a fantastic storyteller. I ended up picking up a few of his books now to read because I was just enthralled with him. Just I wish I had that energy and the energy that man has.
Yeah.
But definitely something, if it's ever in your area, if you ever get a chance to see him perform live, don't miss it. And then obviously How to Sell a Haunted House with Grady Hendrix. Again, fantastic storyteller, great author. And then afterwards, so gracious with his time to meet with during the meet and greet. And you guys and you Alan and Gil did the same thing. Like when you guys are meeting fans, obviously I've been in meet and greets where it's like, here, take your signed book, get out of my face. I don't want to see you anymore. All you guys are so gracious with your time. And that's also, especially for fans that are super excited, that just means the world. And it was a great event.
We love the fact that we still have fans. That boggles our minds, and but more than that, it inspires us.
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite thing about the Film Fest overall is they've managed to create an environment that's not anything like I would expect at a film fest. It's not pretentious at all. Like there's no pretension at this. Everyone is there because they love movies. Nobody is snobby in any way. They're there to have a good time and share with an audience. And so the several live premieres that we got to watch with the filmmakers there, and you could hear them cheer and laugh at their own jokes. And
yeah,
it was just, it's such a positive environment there. There was nothing negative in how it was run, and the people who run it are fantastic. I've gotten to talk with Chris on multiple occasions, the director, Chris Dortch, and he is just the most kind, generous man that I've run into.
This is his baby.
Yeah, and he loves it. You can tell, and he wants everyone else to love it too. And he has done that. I think it's a fantastic fest.
I implore anyone, if you can't make it live, do it virtually. The virtual experience is fantastic. You get to watch from the comfort of your own home. We end up going live because of all the years we've done it virtually together. And we said, we want to support this. We want to go in person and see what it's like in person. Granted, I can't wait to go back again. Like I'm definitely going back because it was, like Jody said, it was outside of my realms of expectations in such a positive way. But if you can't, just buying a virtual pass really helps support independent cinema and help support the CFF to be able to do this in the future and help support all these independent filmmakers. They get to have people watch our movies, and they even did I didn't see it, but they even did a screenwriting competition for people to pitch their screenplays that people have turned into movies. So it's just the whole festival is just great.
Yeah,
there was a pitching competition that Gil and I judged.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to see it. It was on unfortunately, when I came back to Las Vegas, it was on East Coast time. So a lot of that stuff was as I was trying to make it home from the office.
And that was great fun too. It is such a thrill just to hear the dynamism of the ideas and the passion for storytelling.
Well, there's something about the way that this fest is run that when you leave, at least for me, it made me think, what do I want to do? What do I want to do creatively? It's an inspirational place to be. Yeah. And, it makes you start thinking. I spent all weekend with just ideas floating around in my head as I was there. And who knows what's going to happen with those, but it makes you want to do something.
There's nothing ever bad about that, being flooded with creative thoughts. Well, thank you guys for your input and insight, more importantly. And hey, we all soldier on.
Yes, and thank you for having us on, and for it was good to get to meet you and Gil in person.
After all this time, I feel like I've seen you guys as many times as I've seen Gil in the flesh.
Right.
That's the irony. I've seen him twice. I think I've seen you guys almost as many times. It's the pandemic just changed everything.
Right.
Really did.
In stunning ways that are terrible, and yet I'm grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason likes to joke about the fact that I still haven't met Jason, but I have met you. So
you have never met Jason?
Never in person.
And that was the first time Jody and I met in person too.
Really? Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God.
2 years talking on Zoom every week. First time we met in probably longer than 2 years.
Because we did trivia and other things before that.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that like when you met for the first time in person?
Jody went for the handshake, but we ended up just hugging. We just pulled her for a hug.
It's been long enough. We've been face to face enough times, even if it's through a computer screen. That it was the nice thing was when the three of us got together. It's like we'd known each other for years, which we have.
We really have.
No weirdness, no awkwardness there.
We even had to walk through Jody's bedroom to use the bathroom every night while he slept. It was fine. It was like we lived together for most of our lives. We're like the Golden Girls.
It is strange what these relationships that are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, for instance, here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I thank you guys, and I look forward to getting to be in your literal presence the next time. Before we finish, Gil, we should also mention no overnight parking.
That was a wonderful surprise for me because I'm in the theater. I have no idea what I'm seeing or why I'm seeing it. I'm sitting here and all of a sudden I get absorbed in this, basically a woman in a car in a garage. And you think to yourself, okay, after you've seen the movie, okay, how would I have told that story when I have just a woman and a garage and a car, and make it compelling and make it frightening, and yet give you some empathy to feel for this woman. And she accomplished all that. So that was a real surprise. And she was able to get Alyssa Milano to be in it. And French Stewart was in it. And they did a great job. But the star of the movie is really her storytelling.
Indeed.
Really good. Really
Indeed.
Good.
It was delightful to get to. In this case, we haven't met Meg Swertlow yet, but
get to
Meg
know
is
her
another
work.
person who I think we would love to. We're going to have a conversation with, because how'd you get there, Meg? What else you got in your quiver? Load it up.
So all in all, it was a really good a good festival, I think, from their point of view, and I thought from our point of view it was a pretty good festival. I mean, a lot of people knew about our podcast and enjoyed it and said something about it and had questions for us. And So I think from our perspective, it was fun and it was successful and it was an enjoyable experience.
It absolutely was.
I mean, the credit to the Chattanooga Film Festival is that they really did their research and found offbeat filmmakers we had never heard of. I'm sure most people haven't heard of, and yet they're out there and they're making pictures. They're making motion pictures, whether they're 10 minutes long or 5 minutes long or full length. They're out there and they're doing it.
Thank you so much for inviting us to join you, Chattanooga Film Festival, and we look forward to seeing what you do next year.
Indeed.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
The How Not to Make a Movie podcast is executive produced by me, Alan Katz, by Gil Adler, and by Jason Stein. Our artwork was done by the amazing Jody Webster, and Jason Jody, along with Mando, are all the hosts of the fun and informative Dads from the Crypt podcast. Follow them for what my old pal the Crypt Keeper would have called terrific Crypt content.